Her celebrity guest fee is so high. We're going to try to get this interview done as fast as possible. She is the great Shannon Ferran from KFI, also Chargers sideline reporter. You can catch her on KFI weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Gary and Shannon, they bring a lot of energy. They bring a really nice perspective on life's stories. Shannon, I'm Bryan Fenley. I'm an anchor at Fox Sports Radio. You are on Twitter at Shannon Ferran. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. You were 19 years old and you had a decision to make. Do you stay and be a deli worker, or do you go or do you go the radio route? I think you made the right decision. Can we all agree on that?
You did your homework. Wow. Yeah, I kind of just fell into radio because of the deli maker thing, the sandwich artist business. I was working at a family-run deli in my hometown up in Northern California. And one of the family friends said, "Hey, I see that you're going to Chico State. Do you have a job up there?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you want one?" And I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Well, one of my friends runs a radio station. She's the news director up there. Would you maybe want to intern there and see if it works out?" And I said, "Totally." And that's how it all started. Started working at how was it?
There's so many different call letters these days.
Oh my God. I know. I can't believe KPAY. I don't know why I blanked on that. And I started just doing overnight weather reports and stuff like that. And then started reporting, and then worked at a country station there, KHSL, in the mornings doing that. So loved it.
What's a typical weather report from you back in the day? I like, what did it sound like? Because here you are, maybe you've never done that before and you're thrust into that position.
Like I said, they were overnight weather reports. And so they were just like 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
Just that would just run in the commercial breaks. So very brief weather reports. But I would like set my alarm and wake up in the middle of the night to hear my weather report. That's how lame I was and how stoked and geeked out I was to be on the radio.
That's the thing about radio personalities. You have to like your voice to be in this business, right? And you certainly, Shannon, have an awesome voice. How often do you go to sleep and dream about football?
Oh my gosh, quite a bit. I was worried we weren't going to have a season. I'm just so glad that things got started up again. And yes, I love football. I'm so glad we're able to play. And it sucks that these beautiful stadiums are opening, SoFi and the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium with no fans. People are dying to get into these places.
You were there on Sunday, and I want to ask you about that in just a moment. But what is the closest, over your time as the Chargers sideline reporter, the closest you've ever been to being run over by a football player on the sideline?
I am proactive, Bryan. I get to within 7 yards of the action and I'm running the opposite way, because one of the things you realize when you get down there on the sideline is how fast the game moves and how massive these guys are and how hard they hit. I've run into a couple of the guys just on the sideline, just kind of like walking by, and it's like running into a brick wall. So I move out of the way with plenty of room, so much so that I get made fun of sometimes by my buddies down there.
Let's not underestimate your stiff arm move as well to stay away from the action. Shannon has that. What's the most pronounced natural high you have had during a Charger game, whether it was a big touchdown, a big win, or just the immensity or intensity of the moment?
I think it was the game in Kansas City, 2018, when we won in, I believe it was overtime with that Mike Williams 2-point conversion. That was incredible. Just to be in a place like Arrowhead, which I think is one of the best stadiums to play in the league. And then also Pittsburgh. It was a night game, and I think it was Thursday night football. And it's the fourth quarter, and it's a tight game, and they start playing Renegade. And on the video boards is that defensive montage trying to get the defense rallied up and to get the fans are going nuts and everyone's singing. And the Chargers sideline used that and created their own energy and fed off that and went on to win that game in prime time as well. Those were two really big moments, you know, and it's easy to say they happen in night games because there's just something more special when you're under the lights.
And there's less sweat that you probably have to deal with if the game is at night.
Oh,
yeah.
You have no idea, Brian, until you've gone to Jacksonville in September and worn a khaki skirt on the sidelines and it's 109 degrees on the field. Bad call.
I was listening to your interview, your Chargers podcast that you're a part of, and Haley was there diving into your career, and you spoke about, I think it was like just how the sweat is such an issue. And then it was recently you were talking on the radio about how the guys up in the booth are complaining about the temperature, and you're the one that is going through the elements. Like, you're on the field, they are in a temperature controlled room.
Matt and DJ love to be princesses when it comes to the weather. They never fail to needle me about that when we're on the road and we are in those humidity games, you know, in Florida, in places like that, when it's just unbearable down there. Yeah, they love to complain.
By the way, I think I invented a word earlier in this interview, immensity, and I'm just going to go with it and see if anybody follows through. But a couple days ago, you were at SoFi. No fans were there. A heart-wrenching way to end things. What was your access like, and how did you proceed as the ending was unfolding, and how you wanted to describe the action and tell your story?
Well, we are not allowed on the sideline, but we are in what they call a reporter's moat. And it's kind of this area right before the first seats. It's probably where they're going to put a bunch of cameras and things when they do get to open it up, but we can walk around there. So I was ahead of the first seat, the first row of seats. And I could walk the length of the sideline along which I was excited about because I thought I was going to be in a little penned-in area. But I can walk the length of the sideline, get behind the benches. I can actually hear the players better. I can hear the conversations better. You can hear the profanity better. Very colorful on Sunday. And it's interesting because the locker room entrance is right below where my feet are. And so after, halftime, when Coach Lynn comes out, we can have a conversation right there that's easy to have about adjustments that they want to make and things like that. So it really wasn't too much of a hindrance, to be honest. The PR department was really cool to come over and give us injury updates where Tracy and I were. So it sucks not being on the field, but it's really not that big of a difference.
And I can imagine without fans that you are, like you said, you are hearing stuff in those huddles on the field that perhaps with crowd noise you would not have been privy to, although you are still very close to the action when there are fans. But yeah, I can only imagine the conversations that you overhear. Shannon Ferran is with us, catcher on KFI, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., also Charger sideline reporter. I'm Bryan Fenley. You are a consummate professional, Shannon, in radio. When was there a time when you were really proud with how, because of the beauty of being on the air, sometimes things don't always work as smoothly as they can, but the way you handled things, you were really proud of yourself and how you were able to pull it off when things looked haywire, but you just made it as seamless as possible?
I think that when breaking news happens between Gary and myself, we both have a lot of experience out in the field as reporters before we went on to be anchors and now host our own show. So when breaking news happens, I feel like we are more comfortable and better prepared to cover it in real time and be able to give that information to our listeners in a succinct way, more than I think other talk show hosts who may have not had extensive experience out in the field and understanding how breaking news unfolds and things like that. So every time breaking news hits, especially, it's usually heartbreaking. It's usually a terrorist attack or a shooting or, a pandemic. But we're able to really relay information, I think, in a good way.
How do you process a show and critique yourself? How hard are you on yourself after a show?
Um, it used to be a lot worse. We've been doing this a while now.
Yeah.
And, when I was starting out, whether it was in the field or as a disc jockey or, doing all the different roles I've had over the years, I was terribly hard on myself, and I
Sure.
think you have to be. I think that's
Yeah.
a good thing. But, we've been doing this for 5 years now and totally comfortable. The sideline reporting, still very hard on myself. Still, if I pause too long, I'm like, that sucked. That was the worst, because it's only my fourth year. And it's not something I've been doing my whole career. I mean, I've been watching football, but
Yeah.
watching football and being a huge fan is so different than reporting on it and doing a broadcast like that. So I'm still very much hard on myself. I have not had a perfect game. I have not even come close to it. So that's obviously the goal.
Yeah. And you know what? We're all imperfect, but you still what you see in yourself, like it's crazy when you're in this business, like you think that you did something that you're not very happy with, but a lot of the times the average person has no idea. Like they can't
No
tell,
clue.
that's kind of the nature of wanting to improve and your stardom that has been attributed to the hard work you've put into all of this. Why has the radio duo between you and Gary, why has it been such a juggernaut? Why do you complement each other so well?
Gary and I have a very weird history. We grew up within 8 miles of each other. He's 8 years older than I am. He went to the same college as I did, just ahead of time.
Okay.
He went to the same radio station out of college in Sacramento that I did. We went to the same radio stations up in Seattle following Sacramento, and both ended up at KFI. I mean, I have followed his entire path, and we never met, not once,
Oh.
until KFI. Like, didn't know about each other or anything. And so we've had like the same life experiences in a lot of ways, which makes it feel like I'm talking to my brother every day. It's just
Yes.
it's an easy relationship because I think we followed the same trajectory.
Sure. Shannon Ferran with us. Follow her on Twitter at Shannon Ferran. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. When was the last time on the air, Shannon, you had uncontrollable laughter?
Every day I have uncontrollable laughter. It's true. It's like it's the littlest things, it's the littlest things that'll set me off, and sometimes I just can't get it back on the tracks. But I feel like if you can go to work and laugh uncontrollably, even if you sound like an idiot, you've won life. Having a good time at work, like you and I both do, I'm sure, in
Yeah.
radio, it's the best.
Where did you get this humor from? Like, how did you polish it to where it is now?
Are you calling me funny, Bryan? Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I'm gonna have to save this and play
Yes.
it for everybody in my family and for my husband.
Yeah.
Look, at somebody thinks I'm funny.
Yes.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
No, we just try to have a good time is all it is. Try to have a good time every day. People want levity. People need levity, especially in 2020. So if we keep it light and have fun, I say I'm all for it.
What is it about KFI that allows you to inject your personality in a way that no other station would?
Well, it's the talk show format. You get to be yourself. In fact, if you're not yourself in a talk show format, it doesn't work out. You know that as well as I do. You have to be 110% yourself and genuine at all times. You go to a KNX, for example, and you'll get the news, you'll get the headlines, but you don't get the personalities. Maybe little shades of it here and there, but you don't really know 110% who everybody is. We do live events, and people that we've never met come up to us and give us big hugs because they feel like they know us through and through like a friend, and they do. So I think that's what makes the relationship really special between us and our listeners as well.
What's the pre-production meeting like? Take us into what it's like scripting a show and stacking it, and what all entails you getting ready to go on the air.
There's not really much to it. People think that
it's all here.
People think that we have these production meetings and things like that they do in other places, and we don't do that. What happens for our show is our producer will email us a bunch of links, just things that are in the news that morning. And we've kind of got it down. We've always kind of agreed about what's important to our listeners. And, we'll just sit in the office, which is kind of like a homeless encampment, by the way. We've got so much crap in there. We're like hoarders. And we sit there and we just kind of say, all right, what do you want to start with? All right, let's start with RBG died. Who's the replacement? Okay, we'll do that for 2 segments. Oh, let's do the thing about the Ellen show and the thing about the disgruntled employees. Oh, and did you see that article about the girl who told the officers who pulled her over she had to go to the bathroom really bad? Let's make fun of that, And so we've got a big whiteboard and we just pen things in for each segment that we're going to do, and we're off.
For those of you, and this is my last question for you, Shannon, for those out there who question your hilarity, have not heard your story about a bag of ruffles. And so I heard this, and so this basically take us back to how a bag of ruffles changed the complexion of your dating life, your marriage, and making it all happen.
All right. So here's the story, Bryan, and I'm not proud of it. My husband and I had been dating for about 3 years. So at the time, my boyfriend, and he loves ruffles. Okay. Like if he gets open a bag of ruffles, that bag's done for. Like it's done for within 10 to 15 minutes, polishes that off.
Yeah.
And we were in Mexico on a little extended weekend, and we're at the bar of the hotel and we're doing tequila shots. And so I had a couple tequila shots, and I say, and I worked up my courage, hey, what's with this whole you not asking me to marry you thing? Like, what are we doing?
Good for you.
What are we doing? It's been 3 years, Okay, let's just compare me to a bag of ruffles, I said at the time. I said, if you had a bag of ruffles, you like the ruffles, you want the ruffles, you wouldn't leave them out on the counter for 3 years. No. You would use the ruffles. You'd have the ruffles. Like, what are you doing? Why are you waiting for 3 years? So I compared myself to a bag of potato chips. And I will just say this, within 6 months, I was engaged. So it worked.
So it did work. And what was his reaction to when you used the analogy of ruffles to help?
He looked at me like I was a crazy person, Bryan, like any sane individual.
But he ended up proposing to you, so it ended up working.
Yes, unfortunately for him.
Shannon Ferran, it has been a delight. I am so glad that you had a couple minutes of your busy schedule to chat and connect and share your story, and your hilarity comes through. Don't let anybody tell you you were not funny, because you really are. And that is the case. Follow her on Twitter at Shannon Ferran. Check her out on KFI, on Chargers broadcasts. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor with Fox Sports Radio. Again, Shannon, thank you so much for doing this.
So nice to meet you, Bryan. Take care.